Hello, Cecil County and the world. This is the 20th of September, and this is Cecil TV. I'm Rob Churnside, and with me tonight is author, speaker, and book coach Michele Chynoweth. Welcome to Cecil TV.
Rob.
You have an impressive stack of books that you've written. This year, The Wise Man being the most recent. Why don't you tell me and our viewers about this book?
Okay. I have 5 best-selling, award-winning novels, and they all have suspense with a little romance in them, and they each reimagine an Old Testament story in the Bible in a very modern-day, edgy way. So my latest is based on the story of Solomon in the Bible, and the main character is the Supreme Court Justice, and he is deciding on a case between 2 women fighting over custody of a baby born live out of a failed abortion. So it's very relevant. And I had actor Kirk Cameron write an endorsement for me. He was the main speaker at the Right to Life. But it's very politically and spiritually balanced. It's not religious or preachy. It's more of an action-packed story. So Solomon, as we know, goes on to be known for his wisdom, becomes very wealthy, and in my book he buys an island and has a virtual reality tour system, and people come from all over the world, and it's very new and cutting edge, but they have a game called the 7 Deadly Sins, and things start to go downhill. He also marries a woman in China. She has very high political ranking, and they experience problems. So it really patterns the story of Solomon, but in a way where we can relate.
Right, and I remember the story of Solomon in the Old Testament featured a baby as well. So that there's that natural tie-in.
Right, right.
Yeah. And some of your other books, for example, The Jealous Son, also have Old Testament ties, correct?
Yes, and so that is a murder mystery, modern day, about based on Cain and Abel. So it's actually starts out told from Eve's point of view, and there are very relevant issues to today, such as addiction, mental health. One of the sons, of course, becomes jealous of his brother. They're in a rock band.
Oh, cool.
And loosely based on my 2 adult sons, they were in a rock band together and had that sibling rivalry, and so did my sister and I. So it explores that, but he goes off his meds and he becomes really jealous, and we kind of know what happens, but we don't know how or why. So it builds up that story, and it's very heartbreaking, but in the end, all my stories end in a fulfilling way. And I hope that readers, even if people read the Bible, or even if they don't, they might come back and read the Bible story, or at least get God's message in that story across.
Right. That sounds great. And we're going to digress a bit from the books. And you're a Cecil County resident, right?
Yes.
And your son's in the rock band. Did they practice in your house?
Oh, yes.
Oh, Lord.
In the basement, yes.
Was one a drummer?
One was a drummer, and one is still is, and one is a bass guitarist.
So they were the rhythm section.
There were 4 guys all together. One was a regular guitarist, electric guitar, and the other was a singer.
Just like Zeppelin.
Absolutely, yes.
How about that? And
it was punk rock and ska. I came to find out what that means, but yeah, very. But it was good.
This jealous son. Let's get back to this for a second, because I'm intrigued now. This jealous son. They're in a rock band together, and is it set in a desert state?
It's set in Arizona, and just like Adam and Eve were, kind of the original people, this couple is raised in the Navajo Nation. So I felt like, the Native Americans are original to our land.
Right.
And so that's why I said it there. And she's shunned by her dad for, I won't go into too much detail, but raises the 2 sons and just doesn't understand why all of this happens.
Sounds really interesting and very entertaining and edifying as well.
Yes.
And inspiring.
They're very exciting, I think. I hear from my readers and fans that it just keeps them up at night reading. Sometimes they read them, they're a beach read or read them in a few days, and page turners.
Beach read, isn't that the greatest?
And they're all available in paperback, ebook, Kindle, audiobooks, and hardcover. So
I was just
wherever books are sold.
Wherever books are sold. Now, how does www.michele Michele Chynoweth,
Yes.
just as it's spelled on here,
Yes.
and that's how people can get in touch with you. They can order books that way, correct?
Yes.
And they can find out, I guess, maybe what you're going to be doing, where you're going to be going, because if you're an author and a speaker and a book coach, you got a busy schedule.
Yes.
Tell us about the
My
speaking.
mom always says, "When do you sleep?" So I started out with my first book, The Faithful One, and I just wanted to touch a little on that. I never set out to write modern day Bible stories. I was like, how is that going to make me rich and famous? I always wanted to be an author since I was 10. But then life happened, and I became a news reporter, both on air and for various newspapers, and in Maryland, the Aegis, the Salisbury Daily Times, and then Evening Sun, News Journal. And then I went into marketing, trying to make a little more money, had kids on the way, but I always wanted to go back to being an author. That never left,
Right.
And I wrote what I thought was going to be a great American novel, and it won literary agency representation as the prize. It was before self-editing back in 2009, and or before self-publishing rather. And I lost the prize because 9/11 happened.
Right.
True story. And I was devastated, and I was in a really dark place, and I was sending query letters out to agencies, and nothing was happening. So I was in a really dark place, and at the time, I look back now and see God was tapping me on the shoulder to write this one, based on the book of this one here, based on the book of Job. And like I said, I was in a really dark place. I was losing my marriage, felt like I was losing my kids who were teenagers, losing my advertising agency business. So I had worked as a marketing director and then started my own ad agency. Always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and just in a really dark place. Felt like I was losing everything, and in fact, I was also losing my health through the disease of alcoholism. And like Job, I came through. God brought me through and healed me. It was healing for me to write it, and I felt like that I could help others because I started to talk about it. Oh, by the way, I did come through. I'm remarried to a wonderful man, have a great relationship with our blended family of 5 adult kids, and now working full-time as an author, speaker, book coach, and in recovery 19 years. So,
Awesome.
Yes.
Good for you, and
Thank you.
full circle, I guess, kind of in a way. And Cecil County is your home now, correct?
Yes.
Because
So-
we saw you and filmed you at the fireworks.
Yes, that's
this
how
summer.
we got together. Actually, I went to that crazy 4th of July this year that ended up being rained on, but we saw some fireworks and it was awesome.
Yes.
And I met you there, and you said come on the show. Back to your original question, though. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there, but I think it's important that I get out that message that I think it's important for writers to inspire, help others, transform lives with their work. I mean, what makes a good movie a great movie, or a good book a great book? It's that there's a powerful message.
Right.
So I started speaking to book clubs, women's groups, church groups, and some of them started to ask me, how do you do this? How do you, I want to write a book. How did you do that? And so one thing led to another, and I started teaching at Cecil College, right in my, backyard, basically.
Right.
I was at a Cecil Chamber lunch, and the administrator of the college was sitting next to me and said, come on in. And I said, I'd like to be a guest speaker. Well, after an hour of talking together, she said, I want you to teach. So I started, and I loved it. So COVID took that online, through Zoom, so I started to teach on Zoom, and I realized writers need even more guidance than just a 3-time class can give them. So I developed my own program. It's called Your Book Done Right, and it's an 8-week course starting October 2nd, my next master class, Your Book Done Right master class and elite coaching. And it's 1.5 hour live-led course on Zoom every Monday night, and then in between I give coaching and editing help.
Awesome.
But here's the thing, like writers feel that they can't really write a book. Are they qualified? I mean, let's face it, none of us are born being excellent musicians or excellent, I mean, some of us have talent or knowing how to write a book. It's complicated, so I help those writers not only like improve their craft of writing, but help them self-edit, get published. We look at different publishing paths, and then help them with marketing as well.
And so let's get back to October 2nd. Again, folks can go to your website to register for this course?
Absolutely. So michelechinoweth.com, or even easier, yourbookdoneright.com.
Okay.
And they can go there and sign up for a discovery call with me, and we'll talk more about all the details.
I gotta ask. Your book done W-R-I-T-E, R-I-G-H-T, or R-I-T-E like Rite Aid?
R-I-G-H-T.
Okay, good.
Because I feel it's important that they
right.
get a good book out there, whether they self-publish or, get a literary agent. It has to be good.
Okay. That's excellent. And the Cecil Lifelong Learning course, is that now in existence?
That course is not, because I took it online and developed it into my own course. They do have writing courses from time to time, but I felt like even though that helped, like to make a writer cross the finish line and actually get their book published, they need additional mentoring and coaching, and that's what I give them.
Cool. Is there, just ballpark, is there an average number of hours per day that if someone were to want to try and write a book that they should work at it?
That's a good question. I actually had a student in my college class break down in tears because she said, I don't write every day. Am I still a writer? I said, absolutely. You write when you can. And she broke down in tears saying, so I'm a writer? I said, yes, you are. And her book's coming out, and she's in Cecil County.
Awesome.
Her name is Faith Adair. And yes, she is a local, she has a local business, and her book is coming out soon, within the month. So I've helped a lot of Cecil County writers in addition, though my course, you can come from all over with Zoom. So I've gotten books published for writers across the country, and I have somebody in Aruba attending this next class. So
nice. Yeah,
if you want to write a book, I'd tell your audience, please at least talk to me and find out more, because even if you miss a class, you can watch it online. So
that's if I ever get any time, I've been trying to write a book on retirement. Like the year before I retired, I watched a pack of wild neighbors where the one dude retired when he was like 63, and he drank up his entire retirement in 1 year and did a bunch of crazy, stupid stuff, right? I thought, well, maybe people need guidance in retirement. So I journaled for a year, interviewed people for a year, wrote down thoughts. I got a big old box of notebooks right there. I'm looking at that box of notebooks. I ain't doing nothing with that,
See, I knew you wanted to write a book.
It'll have to be a big, giant blizzard, or I'll have to be like incapacitated.
No, or you just take my 8-week course, and it's a step-by-step process, and you get it done.
I just might do that.
Easy peasy.
I just might do that, Michelle.
I say easier, faster, cheaper, and better than you can on your own.
But
you should.
I had a lot of fun just doing
Then I'll come
with
to
that
your book
process.
signing.
Yeah.
Oh, and
sounds great.
Speaking of that, I did want to mention this. So we do have a client of mine, a student of mine, Kim Allen, wrote a business book on leadership. It's called Relead. And she and I are going to have a joint book signing at Kathy's Corner Store in Northeast on September 30th at
Cool.
1:30 to 4:30 p.m. So I hope everybody comes out. And I do things like that for my author clients. We'll do some joint marketing, or I'll put them in my newsletter and try to feature their books, because they're a reflection of me. So, I want them, and I want them to succeed.
Well, it sounds as if you've helped a lot of people to get their message out. You're getting your message out. What's the next message you're going to get out?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that. I am going to write a book. The next one in this, it's not a series, but in this line of books in this genre is going to be on Noah. But before that, I am going to write a novel that is suspense with a little romance that is totally off the grid from this. And it's loosely based on true story, loosely based on some parts of my life, but totally, novel. And I really hope that gets made into a movie, and then these get made into a TV series. That's my big dream.
Yeah.
I've pitched it to producers, and fingers crossed.
Awesome. Always forward, right?
Always forward, yes.
All right, did we get it all, Michelle?
I think we did.
Thank you for coming on Cecil TV.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure is ours, and you viewers.